Red Flags of Emotional Repression Part 90, Make-Believe. To make believe, if you hadn't considered what it means, is to make yourself believe things, right? To tell yourself stories, or to choose unconsciously to live in positive or negative fantasy. And do you know most often why human beings make themselves believe things, tell themselves stories, or choose to live in fantasy? Because they don't like the way things already are in their lives, meaning there's things that they don't want to feel. And so making believe becomes a form of escapism and therefore an extension of the mechanism of emotional repression. Now, let's talk about the thing no one talks about first. If you're in emotional repression, you're already making believe. You're already in a negative fantasy. Buried repressed emotions most often produce beliefs, identities, and stories of self that are negative. Stories like, I'm not good enough. Stories like, I'm helpless. Stories like, I'm not safe. But we don't see these stories as negative fantasies or make-believe yet because thanks to emotional repression, they feel true. So when things get bad enough, what do most of us attempt to do first? Tell ourselves better stories, positive fantasies we make believe in a good way. In therapy, this can look like giving ourselves positive affirmations. In religion, it can look like telling ourselves we're safe from sin. In spirituality, it can look like telling ourselves we're awake or enlightened. In philosophy, it can look like telling ourselves that we're all connected or one. But if we've got buried repressed emotions in our body that are causing us to suffer, this is all make-believe. Suffering doesn't end, folks, until the mechanism that creates it to keep us safe from buried emotion starts to wind down. And that doesn't happen until a while after we've resolved emotional repression. Look, unconscious beliefs, stories, and fantasies that we don't know about yet are what cause our suffering. And so expecting beliefs, stories, and fantasies that we do know about to resolve that suffering is a little like hiring roaches as exterminators. The job never gets done. The suffering stays compulsive. So, how do we end suffering? Well, we've got to stop making believe. We have to come out of our both positive and negative fantasies. So how? By resolving the very emotions that create the need to make believe in the first place. The ones that got buried and repressed in our bodies in childhood in order to get our needs met. And as you may know, for some this is predominantly anger, for some this is predominantly hurt and sadness. But either way, as we resolve and clear the body of these buried repressed emotions, we become more and more present in our lives. And guess why? Because we no longer need our beliefs, identities, stories, fantasies, and suffering in order to keep us safe. And so as most people address and come out of their emotional repression, the need for therapy or religion or spirituality or philosophy starts to wane and eventually drops away. Because suffering was the inability to be ourselves. And once you can start to be yourself, meaning once you can start to feel and express the full range of human emotions, you stop suffering. And so my job as an emotional repression work mentor is to try to put myself out of a job as fast as I can. Because believe it or not, if I don't, then you'll keep making believe and suffering in order to get my help. But that's okay because it's part of what we address in mentorship, and I've stopped making believe that I can somehow make that happen for you or that it's my responsibility. So if you'd like to stop making believe and start resolving emotional repression, tap the link in the caption or the bio.